Today we're going to do a very simple 20-minute Hatha Flow. It's great for beginners, for everyone really. Even if you're an advanced practitioner, it's good to notice those times when maybe your mind's more cluttered and maybe you're feeling stiffer. To give yourself permission to get really simple with things. Don't overthink it. Get in some poses, breathe deeply with just a little bit of flow here. So there'll be some sun salutations and just a few standing poses. We'll take out any seated or reclined poses for now. We can check other videos for that. Starting off with some simple spinal warm-up. So from standing, spinal extension, arms open wide, spinal flexion coming in for a hug. Inhale, spinal extension, arms wide. Exhale, curl the spine. Inhale, extend the spine, looking up. Exhale, curl the spine. Just a moment, I'm going to turn to the side, let you see a good side view. So from the side, you can see better the arching and rounding of the spine. When we flex the spine, we round it, we tuck the tailbone under, feel the abs contracting to do that. As we open up and arch the back, we extend the spine, press the top of the pelvis forward. Next, we're going to do tick-tock windmills. So take a nice, relaxed, wide stance, feet slightly turned out. We'll inhale, and then we'll exhale, side bend, taking the hand down to the thigh, reaching up with the other hand. Inhale up through center, exhale, side bend. So with your head, you've got two different options here. You can rotate your head looking upwards, looking at the hand that reaches upwards, or we can keep our face squared forward, like looking straight forward at the wall, just letting our ear fall towards shoulder for a lateral flexion without rotation. A little bit later, we're going to do triangle pose. It's important to note the difference between simply lateral bending the spine here in these tick-tock windmills versus how we're going to set up the hips in triangle pose towards the end here. Inhale, expand upwards and extend a mountain pose. Swan dive down, lead with the chest, arms wide, back and down. Fold over your lap. Feel free to start with a bend in your knees here, especially if you have tight hamstrings. Just feel that line of tension running from your hamstrings up to your lower back. Breathe deeply into that tension. You can bring hands to thighs. Maybe with hands on thighs, we might notice our ability to extend the knees more, stretch through more of the length of the hamstring. Release head back down, grab the ground, step back to a tabletop position. We can practice cow pose and cat pose. So kind of like earlier from standing, cow pose, spinal extension, head up, tailbone up. Exhale, cat pose, round the spine. Inhale, head up in cow pose. Exhale, cat pose, curl the tailbone under, head down. Inhale, head up in cow pose. Exhale, flex the spine, cat pose. Inhale, extend the spine in cow pose. Exhale, flex the spine. So letting the breath flow with the movement here. Now shifting backwards, hips to heels, moving into child's pose. Big toes to touch, knees wide, slide forward and down. Letting the spine round. Especially if we're tight, we might notice it rounding. If our head doesn't reach it to the floor, you see me here stacking fists underneath my forehead. Likewise, maybe grab a block or fold a blanket, rest your forehead on that because that feels good. Some people will sink lower than others. Some people, hips will come down between the feet easier. Belly will come down between the thighs easier. But wherever you're at, just breathe deeply. Inhale, feel expansion happening. Exhale, sink into the shape more. Keeping the breath long. So next, with arms reached forward, go ahead and move through knees down plank, lower down. Next, we'll slide the hands forward, elbows into the shoulders for Sphinx pose. As you breathe deeply, feel your belly press into the floor. Exhaling is just as important. Feel those abs draw back in, deepening the stretch sensation at your lower back. Go ahead and play with head movements. Notice if your shoulders can come back and down. Notice the neck being that connection point between the head and shoulders. Feel that stretch happen. You move your head around. And then place your hands back underneath your shoulders. Extend the arms into a deeper back bend. Cobra or upward facing dog. Breathe deeply, enjoy the back bend. And then we press back to child's pose. Knees wide, big toes touch, hips back to heels. Then slide forward and down. So you'll notice this theme here of counter stretching between spinal extension and spinal flexion. So as we relax into child's pose, Notice if this spinal flexion stretch through your spine, your lower back, your hips feel different after the last back bending. Repeated counter stretching without forcing kind of lets us peel away through layers of tightness. Transition through table position, bring your knees and feet together, sit hips back to heels, kneeling upright in Vajrasana. So feel that in your knees, your quads maybe if they're tight. It's too intense on your knees, lean forward. For some people, flexible in the quads, they might not feel anything there. If that's the case, just take this as a moment of meditation as you also just work on your posture, shoulders coming back and down, spine coming straight up out of your pelvis. And then let's make an easy transition to downward facing dog. So coming forward through table position, toes flipped under, hips up and back, looking at the feet, lengthening and strengthening the arms, making a straight line from the wrist to the tailbone. We can start with the bend in the knees. We can pedal out the heels if we have tight hamstrings and or calves like me. So as we bend one knee, we straighten out, heel down to the opposite side leg. People with very flexible hamstrings don't feel a hamstring stretch here. That's okay. Down dog is a strength pose for them. Go ahead and walk your hands to your feet for Uttanasana again. Inhale with your halfway lift. Exhale, release back down. Reverse swan dive up. Arms wide back and up. Reach for the ceiling. Arms wide back and down. Mountain pose. Palms forward. Take a moment and roll out your neck, your head. Inhaling from the side and back. Exhaling down the other side. Twice in each direction here. Just take your time, relax. We're going to come back to this a couple more times in this easy pace Hatha Flow because we're focusing on just relaxing to loosen up the muscles, doing a little bit of strengthening, but not shooting for an intense workout here. Arms wide back and up through extended mountain pose. Exhale, lead to the chest, swan dive down, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down. Let's do that one more time. Feel that extension happening in the spine as we still folding at the waist, looking forward, flat back, release back down. So here you see me at the back of the mat. So I'm going to grab the ground, walk my hands forward, plank or knees down plank. Inhale deeply, and then we lower down slowly, bending elbows into the ribs, keeping them in tight. Back of the feet down, press into a back bend. Cobra or upward facing dog. Breathe deeply, take a breath. And then transition to downward facing dog. Feel free to move through tabletop position to get to downward facing dog. Again, take a few deep breaths here. So in this flow, you'll see me sometimes transitioning to the back of the mat, sometimes to the front of the mat from downward facing dog. I would encourage you to play with it and notice what feels good for you. The traditional approach is always doing sun salutations from the front of the mat in Uttanasana and Tadasana. But for some, tight hamstrings and glutes might make it easier to walk hands to feet to the back of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release head and hands back down. Inhale, reverse swan dive up to extended mountain pose. Expand up. Exhale, mountain pose. Arms wide back and down, palms forward. Let go of tension here again in mountain pose. For the next pose, crescent lunge, it's best to be at the front of the mat. It's better to transition by stepping backwards into a lunge rather than stepping forward. Stepping back with the left foot, arms are transitioning forward and up, expanding up in crescent lunge. That backside foot, toes are pointing straight forward, so feel the width of your forefoot where the ball of the foot is, making good contact with the floor or ground. Transitioning to warrior two, your hips, chest, and backside foot turn out 90 degrees to the left. When the hips roll left, that front right knee wants to pull inwards, resist that traction, right knee back out towards right pinky toe. The outer edge of the back left foot is parallel with the short edge of your mat. Focus on your posture, abs engaged. Let's reverse that last transition back to crescent lunge. So roll on the ball of the backside foot, point those toes forward. Backside foot, hips, chest, pointing forward to the short edge of your mat. Reach forward and down, move through runner's lunge. Step back to plank or knees down plank. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Lower down slowly on an exhale. Inhale to a back bend. Take a deep long breath. Then next for downward facing dog, feel free to transition through table position. In downward facing dog, look at your knees, send chest towards the thighs. For tight hamstrings, start with a bend in your knees. Pedal out the heels as you stretch, lengthen one side at a time to stretch the back side of the legs. And then next you'll see me stepping to the front of the mat for Uttanasana, feet towards hands. Inhale, hands to thighs, halfway lift. Exhale, release hands and head back down. Inhale, reverse swan dive up through extended mountain pose, expand upwards. Exhale, mountain pose, arms wide down, palms forward. For the shoulders relaxing back and down. Relax the neck. Make some nice, long, relaxed head rolls for a few seconds here. Change directions. Take a long breath in as you roll your head to the side, going backwards. Exhale as you come down to the other side, chin towards the chest. Strong mountain pose, feel your roots. And then reach back with your right foot for crescent lunge. Root down, squeeze in through your foundation, squeeze in through both feet, and expand upwards. Breathe deeply, focus on posture, abs draw the spine back and upright. Warrior 2, backside foot, then hips and chest, roll out 90 degrees to the right, traction at left front knee out towards left pinky toe, abs draw the spine back and upright. Last thing, arms come out, horizontal, gaze out over left fingertips. Again, strong foundation, squeeze in through both feet equally, breathe deeply, expand upwards through your spine. Inhale, roll in the ball of the back foot, toes forward. Crescent lunge, expand your arms and spine upwards. Take a deep breath here, long breath. And then on exhale, reach forward and down. Move through runner's lunge as you frame that front foot. Step back to plank or knees down plank. Inhale and exhale, lower down. Inhale, back bend, cobra or upward facing dog. Feel free to move through table position before transitioning to downward facing dog. Lengthen and open through the upper body before lengthening through the backside of the legs. Breathe deeply. Long breaths. Walk to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale through halfway lift. Exhale, release back down. Inhale, reverse swan dive up, reach for the sky or ceiling. Exhale, mountain pose. Shoulders roll back and down. Let that head and neck go loose again. Breathe deeply. And again, anytime I cue deep breathing, the real instruction is to lengthen the breath. Notice your ability to control the breath along the nose, back of the throat, down to the abdominal diaphragm to get more out of each breath. And then from the front of the mat, we're going to step back again with the left foot into crescent lunge. We're going to add a little bit more onto this standing warrior lunge sequence. Transitioning to warrior 2 again, just like last time. But this time, after we check our posture and alignment in warrior 2, taking a deep breath in, we're going to transition to exalted warrior. So we're going to reach back horizontally to the left and side bend down, resting the left hand on thigh. So that horizontal reach was the real reach. We're not trying to force a reach downwards into the side bend. So we achieve the stretch on the right side of the body, reaching horizontally left, and now we focus on expanding upwards to the right side of the body. Root down through your foundation, through your feet, and then grow upwards. Expand up, breathe into the right side of the body. Come on back up through warrior 2. Notice the shape of your lower body remains the same through those two poses, as well as the next one, extended side angle. When we start from upright in warrior 2, transitioning to extended side angle, we can focus on openness before reach. So here you're going to see me do extended side angle from a high position. I can lower my elbow down to thigh, feel that support there. But again, even though I'm supporting, I'm still focusing on my strong foundation, squeezing through both feet equally. Think about those left ribs spiraling out and up to the sky or ceiling. On an inhale, float back up to warrior 2. From there, roll on the ball of the back foot, toes forward for crescent lunge. Inhale, exhale, reach forward and down. Move through runner's lunge. Step back to plank or knees down plank. Take a deep breath. Feel your abs engage. And then on an exhale, you lower down slowly. Inhale to back bend. Take another breath. And then remember, next is downward facing dog. You can keep your knees down in table position if you want to. And then flip the toes under, hips up and back for downward facing dog, sending chest towards the thighs. Lengthen open from the wrist to the tailbone. Pedal out the heels as needed. And then walk to Uttanasana, the forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down. Inhale, reverse swan dive up. Expand upwards. Exhale, down to mountain pose. Take a moment here in mountain pose to relax, let go of tension. We're going to do that last standing sequence to the other side now from the front of the mat. So we'll reach back with our right foot to crescent lunge, toes pointing forward. Feel your posture, feel your alignment, take a deep breath, and then warrior two. Same thing here in this pose and in every pose in a Hatha Flow, taking a moment to feel our posture, feel our alignment, and take a deep breath. Have an experience in each pose before anticipating the transition. So next, exalted warrior. So remember, again, to reach back horizontally to the right, and then gently side bend down. Expand up to the left side of the body. Breathe. Strong foundation. Expand with each inhale. Exhale, rooting down. Inhale up to warrior two. And then next we'll transition to extended side angle again to the other side. Parzo Konasana. Remembering those instructions of openness in the torso, but also even though we rest our elbow down on that left front thigh, we're not just spilling into it, we're still creating a strong foundation, squeezing through both feet equally. So even though we leaned away from the right foot, we're still engaging that right foot into the grip of the mat. Feel yourself like you're holding a squat hold on each side with each leg. Long deep breaths. Notice where the breath goes in your ribs, in your abdomen. And then we float back up the way we came in, back to warrior two. Rolling back forward again to crescent lunge. Take a breath here. Reach forward, down, runner's lunge. Step back to plank or knees down plank. Inhale. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, back bend. Breathe deeply, do some head movement, nods or head rotations. And slowly make your way to downward facing dog. Walk to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Here I skip over that halfway lift. A little bend in the knees, lead at the crown of the head. Reverse swan dive up, reach for the sky. Hands back down to mountain pose. Relax. Roll out that head. Relax and loosen up those upper shoulders. And next we're going to do triangle pose. So remember I talked about this at the beginning. It's not just a side bend like the TikTok windmill, but you see I start with the wide stance here. You can go ahead and mirror me as we go to the left first, and so it's sort of like extended side angle, except we keep that front knee straight. Front left foot is externally rotated so that knee points out towards the short edge of the mat. Right foot is internally rotated. Reach out horizontally, feel the hamstring stretch, and then tick-tock down. So I'm not instructing to reach towards the floor because all the other actions we take before how far our hand gets is more important, keeping the chest turned open towards the wall. So feel those right ribs spiraling out and up towards the ceiling. Keep activating through your foundation. Keep squeezing your feet in towards each other into the grip of the mat. So those inner lines of your legs that are stretching, they're also engaged, strengthening. They are supporting you. Over time, that strength, the stability that comes with that lets you reach a little further and further. On the next inhale, float back up through center. And let's reverse that. Let's internally rotate that left foot, externally rotate the right foot. Squeeze in through your feet, strong foundation, reach out horizontally, feel that right hamstring stretch, and then tick-tock down, keeping the chest turned open towards the wall. So your hand may come to thigh or shin or ankle. Flexible people will reach further down the lateral side of their shin to the floor, but not necessary because we start from upright so we can favor openness before reach. When our strength allows us to stay in the asana longer with stability, we have the ability to reach a little farther over the course of a few breaths. From a strong foundation, inhale and come back upright, parallel your feet. And we'll wrap up this asana sequence coming back to the short edge of our mat in mountain pose, rolling through crescent lunge to step forward. So this could be the first 20 minutes of your hour or so long vinyasa routine. Next you might do a few more challenging standing poses, seated pose sequence, recline pose sequence. Maybe this is 20 minutes at the beginning of your day, and then at the end of the day, you do 20 minutes of just laying on your back, relaxing into some stretches, letting go of tension that you accumulated during the day. And so just after this 20 minutes, you'll feel the benefits. Even though you haven't done a wide range of different poses, you're gonna feel the benefits. And so you might notice that when you have the mentality of, if you're gonna get on the mat, you have to have 60 minutes carved out, and then it ends up not happening because all or nothing mentality doesn't always work. So you do what you can whenever you can. Do 20 minutes a day, at least 60 minutes and more. Other days when you can, carve out the time.